What's up, good people? Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, I'd be here just talking to myself, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Shout out to you. We have gone over 70,000 subscribers. 70,000! That's a lot of people. That's a whole lot of people, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys who have been here and been part of the show and keeping up with all the news that is the Dallas Cowboys. We have a little bit that's going on right now. You know, this is something the Eagles found out last year. The thing is about a season. One season has nothing to do with the next one. And you need to have a sense of urgency because things change quickly in the NFL. Last year, the Eagles, they had an incredible season. They went through and all the way to the Super Bowl and came close to winning one. And the last 6 weeks of the season, you can't say that they're not the worst team in football right now. You honestly can't say that because they lost coordinators that were really, really good. Guys that were doing the lion's share of the work, and now Nick Sirianni's been found out that he's really not that good of a coach. And this is why the news that we're getting right now about Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, already 3 teams have asked for permission to interview him. We're talking about the Commanders, who have a lot of cash right now, don't really have a quarterback, but they have a lot of cash that they can spend, and a new ownership that may have a new vision as opposed to Dan Snyder. The Carolina Panthers, which they're a mess. Carolina is a mess. I don't know that you want to go to Carolina, but you know that's another job that's open again. You'll remember a couple years ago, Kellen Moore interviewed for that one, so you don't look at that one as stable. And then you have the Chargers, which does have Justin Herbert and a really good team, at least players-wise, in place that may be maybe the best choice right now, right there. And then there may also be New England, that they may part ways with Bill Belichick. So it stands to reason that if Dan Quinn wants to go, he has ample opportunity to go. And also, too, I'll put in there that Pete Carroll might decide to mutually agree to retire. I think the Seattle Seahawks wouldn't be mad about that one. That maybe they're ready to start over again. But be that as it may, that's the one I would worry about the most. But now we're also hearing, which is surprising to me, that we haven't lost him in years before, is Will McClay. And you'll remember maybe about 4 years ago, the Texans wanted to interview him, and basically the Joneses were like, oh, hell no. Because Will McClay, you have to look at how the Cowboys changed after Will McClay became head of scouting department. You used to look at the Cowboys as the Maverick, the wild card, the team that was always doing crazy shit. You know, making, crazy trades and stuff, trading a first and a bunch of other picks for Roy Williams or Joey Galloway. We gave up 2 number 1s for that guy, bringing in the TOs, moving up and down the draft and just kind of like hit or missing. After Will McClay became our general manager, they went out and they found players. And it wasn't always the players that Jerry Jones wanted to draft. I mean, you'll remember Jerry Jones supposedly ended up having to have the draft card taken away from him, which kind of sounds kind of bullshit because you're not there at the draft, and it's not like you're running up to the commissioner with the card, okay? With it, you're actually making a call. But be that as it may, famously wanted to draft Johnny Manziel. Instead, Stephen Jones wanted to go ahead and get Zach Martin. Thank God we got Zach Martin and not Johnny Manziel. And you can see the picks that have been made for the Cowboys. You don't hit on all of them, and there's question marks about this year's draft. We had question marks about the draft the year before, but you look and see how those guys in the second year have been, incredible. Jake Ferguson, of course, and Damone Clarks and things. Not necessarily, and Tyler Smith. Not necessarily the guys that were the number 1 picks, but the guys that are down the line that end up being and playing meaningful minutes for your team. And with his designation of being head of scouting as opposed to being the GM, there's a lot of teams that would love to just have him as a GM and have no problem giving him the GM title. In fact, I guess in some regards, if he were to leave, because there's a lot of teams that are interested in him currently, if he were to leave, and get a job as a GM, the Cowboys would be in line for a third round compensatory pick, much like San Francisco got a couple of theirs because they ended up losing some of their coordinators that got head coaching jobs. In the past, when people have wanted to talk to Will McClay about their GM positions, he declined because he said he had unfinished business to do here with Dallas. And we have been very, very fortunate that he's had that attitude. And you wonder the same thing with Dan Quinn, where Dan Quinn says, I don't want anybody coaching my guys. We have been blessed. If the Eagles situation hasn't shown you how blessed we are with the coaching staff that we have, coaching does matter. Coaching truly matters. You look at having Kellen Moore, who many people thought was a great offensive coordinator. Turns out maybe he's not as good as people thought, that it was actually the talent that he had that made him look good. Because now you've seen the difference of Mike McCarthy, who is a veteran, who has been there, how we have been so much better and consistent on offense. We haven't been doing the trick plays that only seem to trick us. We haven't seen Dak Prescott, throwing all the interceptions and things like that. And having this offense being more dynamic with lesser players on it. And that's where you look at it and say, coaching does matter. And if you remember the 2020 season without Dan Quinn, we had Mike Nolan, who was the defensive coordinator, how lost the players looked. And now compare it to what Dan Quinn took with the same players initially and turned that team around, that defense that was historically bad, and made them great. I hope that, what I would hope is that if Will McClay is getting those offers and things, that Jerry Jones makes it abundantly clear that, listen, you are my GM, and make him the GM to make sure they hold on to him. And with Dan Quinn, I would hope that there's a way that they can give him a wink wink and let him know, Mike McCarthy's not going to be here coaching forever. You are the next in line to be here with the Cowboys. And I would think maybe that would be the thing to get him to stay, because, you look at a situation, unfortunately for a lot of coaches that don't get opportunities, the opportunities they get are a dead-end one, that there is no win-win at all for you. You're just there to hold the plate and to end up being the fall guy. And for minority candidates, you don't get a second chance. So we'll see where that goes. Isn't this beautiful? Isn't this beautiful? This is going to be the mantle, one of the mantles at the Red Brick House. Believe it or not, this is a piece of antique heart pine that was actually a floor joist for a house that's about 100 years old. And what happened, unfortunately, is a lot of the boards ended up rotting out on the ends of things, and so we ended up rebuilding it. But I saved the good pieces of wood and just ran this through my thickness sander. And seeing all these old wormholes and stuff in here, and things, and milling it up, sanding it, and gonna varnish the sucker, it's gonna be beautiful. Nothing wrong with a little age. Age is beauty. Peace out, good people.